Ms. White, city clerk. She's our go-to lady. And at this time, I have Ms. And also our city assessor is with us, Mr. Steve Edwards.
This is scary.
And Ms. White, would you like to call the roll?
Yes, sir. Ms. Bryant.
Present.
Dr. Dodson.
Present.
Mr. Hugel.
Present.
Mr. Moody.
Here.
Ms. Thomas.
Here.
Mr. Tillage.
Here.
Mayor Glover.
Thank you, Madam Clerk.
Yes,
and Mr. Manager.
Well, thank you, Vice Mayor. Good evening, everyone. We have 3 items on the agenda for this evening. There you go. I didn't see him come in, so I wanted to make sure I didn't lose one of my presenters this evening. The first one is the road and bridge maintenance, followed by a right-of-way crew pilot, and then finally we have code enforcement and neighborhood quality. Mr. Gerard Roberts. Well, which one of you guys going to do it? He's going to do it? All right, cool. Mr. Gerard Roberts is going to be the presenter first.
It's the Marine in me.
Okay, I'll take it.
Good afternoon, Vice Mayor, council members, Mr. Carter, guests. We're going to talk about our paving projects for the FY26 and FY27 for our city. Our agenda for tonight is to talk about our network, our road network. What encompasses, how many roads we have, how many lane miles we have, what are the primary, what are the secondary. We'll also talk about our budget as it pertains to what our current budget is and what we project out, whatever we need for our future budget. We'll talk about our project scope, our priority corridors, our neighborhood bundling, and the rehabilitation of our targets. We also talk about our performance and our strategy on how we plan to maintain and improve our road network. And we'll also talk about our projected improvements. Talking about bridges as well. Forgive me that that item was not on the agenda, but we will have a brief slide for our bridges. Our bridges. Our city, we manage, we have 5 locally maintained bridges, which is the Churchland Bridge, the Victory Boulevard, which is Paradise Creek, London Bridge over MLK, London Bridge over Virginia Avenue, and our Clifford Street Bridge. The Churchland Bridge project is complete. Our inspection, our warranty inspection is this fall in 2026. The Paradise Creek Bridge replacement is under construction and it will start this spring. And it's an 18-month, it's an 18-month project for that duration. And our London bridges are part of our state of good repair. So we've already submitted an application. And so that'll be a plan for our steel repairs on both structures. All of our bridges are in fair condition. The Paradise Creek Bridge was the only one with a condition rating of 4. The max is 6. Every other bridge was a 5. That's the only bridge that was a 4. So we are. That's why we are repairing this bridge in this spring. All right. Let's talk about our road network, how many lane miles we have, and what are our primaries. So we have 884 total lane miles in the city of Portsmouth. We have, which makes up 188 primary lane miles, which are main arterial roads that are in and out of the city, or like your Portsmouth Boulevards, your airline boulevards. Those are our primary lanes. We also have our 696 lane miles for our collectors and our local roads. Those are the roads that the connectors to our main arterial roads and our neighborhoods and our tertiary roads. Our paving is assessed, VDOT scans the roads, sometimes annually, sometimes semi-annually, and they give us a rating. Rating is based from 0 to 100, and our rating currently is a 48. The threshold to repair our roads is a 60. And what I mean by that is, on a scale, as our roads deteriorate, at 60, we should be milling, close to 60, we should be milling, overlaying, and repairing our roads. Our overall network, that is our baseline of our critical condition index, is a 48. So, with that being said, how do we stack up, not just on the south side, but in the 7 cities complete? Right now, Hampton leads the region with a critical condition index of 71.
Good job.
Portsmouth is the lowest of all the 7 cities at a 48. And our regional average, if you take up all the 7 cities, our regional average is approximately a 58. So we are 10 points below our regional average, and we are we are last as it pertains to the 7 cities. Our budget. Let's talk about our plan and our current and our annual commitment. Prior to FY26, we were only spending $1.6 million in our roads annually. This year, we're spending $5.4 million. $5.4 million gets us 37 to 41 lane miles at an average cost of $146,000 a lane. And that delta is there because during milling and paving, sometimes you don't know what you're going to get after you take the road up. $5.4 million, as a department, we still believe we're 22% underfunded. And that, with our CC critical condition index being a 48, we feel like our commitment should be a $7 million commitment annually. Currently, with our current $5.4 million investment, this for FY26, and a planned $7 million investment for FY27, with is a total of 2 years of $12.4 million. What does that get us? So previously we paved, prior to FY26, we were paving less than 20 miles on an average of 20 miles per 20 lane miles. FY26, we are projected to repair 41 lane miles in this current fiscal cycle by the end of June. Currently, we've already completed 11 miles, and we have 29 miles slated to start between now, the end of this month, until the end of June. And FY27, FY26, that 41 miles makes up about 4% of our total network. And FY27, we are projecting to do 47 lane miles with an average of 5% in our network. That total investment of $7 million. But that also includes, I'll show you in some slides, some upcoming slides, where that $7 million doesn't just hit high volume corridors. We start doing neighborhood clustering. Our condition currently is rated poorest in the 7 cities. However, we do believe that sustained funding of $7 million between this FY26 and FY27 will give us the ability to move the needle, our critical condition index needle, from a 48 to a 52. That helps us close the gap as just from a regional standpoint and a safety standpoint for our roads. That enhanced investment of $12.4 million, it gets us a good coverage, and it puts us on the right path to our path, we call it path to 70. Our goal is to get to 70 critical condition index. Project scope. Our high volume priority corridors. These are not all of the roads that we're doing in FY26, but we just wanted to highlight the major corridors that we were doing in FY26. So, as you can see, the major corridors, the high volume corridors that we're doing is over 50% of our budget currently, right now, which is Portsmouth Boulevard, a portion of Portsmouth Boulevard, portion of Victory Boulevard, Hofflers Creek Parkway, Hartford Street, and Willett Drive. Now, Victory Boulevard, we did pave portions of Victory Boulevard last year in FY25 from the 264 interstate up to Gus Lane. So right there where the casino and that strip is, we did pave that in FY25. And Portsmouth in FY27, we would plan to pave the remaining of Portsmouth Boulevard, the remaining all of Victory Boulevard, the remaining portions of Airline Boulevard, Elm, and Churchland Boulevard. These are our high volume corridors where our average annual daily travel is over 3,500. So these are entrance and exits to the city. So from an aesthetic standpoint, not just from a safety standpoint, but from an aesthetic standpoint, it shows any visitors and our residents where exactly that we are taking a vested interest in our roads. I do apologize we didn't put the street names, but if you're familiar with the city of Portsmouth, you know the highlighted in green is what we did in FY25. The highlighted in red is what we're doing in FY26, and the blue is FY27. Some things we did in FY25, we kind of moved around, trying to maximize, get high volume corridors. But in FY26 and 27, as you can see, our scope changed. We started doing neighborhood bundling because we do get a lot of complaints about, hey, I've been living here for 20, 30 years and my roads haven't been paved. So we are taking a different approach. We are actually investing in the high corridor, repairing the high corridors, but not just only that, we're taking neighborhoods and we are repairing those roads as well, equally. This is on the south side, what we consider the south side. As you can see, FY26, that portion of Portsmouth Boulevard, and then in FY27, that remaining portion of Portsmouth Boulevard. As you can see, we did that portion of Victory Boulevard in the green. We'll do the remaining portion in FY27, and then in FY26, we'll do the red portion. Our focus, like I was explaining, our focus is to do the high volume corridors and then do neighborhood bundling. We are, as far as the budget goes, only 24% of our total budget is going to our high volume corridors. 75% of our budget is going to neighborhood bundling. We do that for neighborhoods like Peachtree, Norcom Park, so those neighborhoods are next on our list, but that's how we are approaching our strategy. So high volume corridors, along with neighborhood bundling, residents can actually see and feel a change. 2-year impact. Our 2-year impact of the 884 lane miles, we should complete 88 lane miles, which is roughly 10% of our total network, which is an hour. It gives us an ability to close the gap, give our residents something that they can see and feel, and puts us on the right path to improve our critical condition index in our road safety. Our strategy, if we do nothing, and we lose 2 points from our critical index every year just by road and travels alone. So with no intervention, we will lose 2.2 critical condition points every year. So with that being said, a preservation program with $1 million, which is actually the reason why from 5.4 to 7, we're asking $1 million to $1.5 million because we want to increase and start a preservation program. Preservation program pretty much says any roads that are getting close to that threshold, we may be able to microsurf. We may be able to do slurry sealing. We may be able to expand the life of that road before we have to mill and overlay. So that puts us on a path of, like I said, sustained excellence. Our current path is $5.4 million with a CCI of 48. If we do nothing and maintain the 5.4, then our critical condition index will remain at 48. And it may decrease depending on the cost of doing business with our contractors and our contractors. These two scenarios are really the same. We were just trying to say $7 million will get us closer to a 70 if we just did milling and overlaying. If we did milling and overlaying with the preservation, the ability to preserve, identify the roads that need to be microsurfaced, those roads that need to be slurry sealed, then it would be effective, but it would still amount to $7 million. When we was putting this together, I put scenario A and scenario B, but I was supposed to take off scenario B, so. Our strategic recommendation is giving us the ability, with the sustained investment, it gives us the ability to mill and overlay the roads that we are needing to mill and overlay. What we also need to do is monitor our performance, which we have been. Monitor the performance of the roads that we are driving. We are also, right now, currently, we are looking for vendors. We are actually have an RFP out for vendors who looking for, that can scan our roads and scan our, instead of having VDOT and waiting on VDOT to do it, we can scan our own roads and scan our concrete, but scan our roads and give us an idea of where we should be, identifying spots where we should be slurry sealing or micro surfacing, or if we need to mill and overlay and redo the base. That technology is out there, and we are looking to actually take part in that technology. We also have to have a sustained investment. We cannot not invest in our roads, because if we don't invest in our roads, then, like I said, the natural deterioration will happen, and our roads we will remain the lowest. We will have the lowest critical condition index in the 757, or in the 7 cities. Sorry. Our path, our strategic scenarios: annual rehabilitation of $6.5 to $7 million gets us 45 to almost 50, and we always put that delta in there because, like I said, you don't know. We always put in worst case scenario. Some roads we may mill and overlay, may just need that, and the quote may actually be less. Preservation program, like I said, being able to micro surface, being able to slurry seal, being able to preserve our investment. Maintain our priority corridors. Maintain the priority corridors in and out of the city. being able to neighborhood bundle. And our pathway, that's all the calculations, but in 15 years, or $120 million will get us 400 to 500 lane miles approximately, which is 50% of our network. So we talk about the pillars, and we do think that investing in our infrastructure, and if we're talking about the 2026, 2030 pillars, strategic pillars, one of the pillars is get stuff done. And we do think that improving our roads and our road network is a part of getting stuff done. We also think that our financial operational excellence, our investment, 5-year CIP, we are disciplined, it's cost efficient, $146,000 per lane mile. Also economic growth and revitalization, it's a part of that. It's a part of the aesthetics and the connectivity to Crawford Bay and the Link District, because there are roads that go through. And safe, connected community. We do believe that improved roads, road conditions enhances the public safety. We do believe that neighborhood bundling builds community pride. And we also believe that gateway revitalization creates a welcoming, beautiful streetscape. So roads coming into the city, roads coming out of the city. We think that helps revitalize the city. And with that, take questions.
Every time you come in here, I'm amazed at how good your analysis is, and how proactive you're being, especially with hiring the contractors to go scan the roads instead of reactive. It's a very, very, very nice presentation. So I've got 6 questions here. The first question is, recently they dug up Portsmouth Boulevard to run some lines underneath it. The quality of the repair work was by I guess it was outside vendors, was horrendous. Does that fall under y'all's oversight to make sure that, because I know they did it, y'all didn't, but was it your oversight?
So that's one of the reasons why we will pave Portsmouth Boulevard. That is one of the first roads, especially that portion. You're talking about the portion coming in from Chesapeake,
Yes.
where they did the
Speed bump.
Yeah, the gas lines. I think they were relocating gas lines or something. But we typically, if we have a call, we'll go out and we'll try to fix whatever the issue is. So we do have a street sign.
I'm concerned about vendors coming in and doing work like that in the future, and who the oversight is that might.
Anybody have that?
Yeah.
Can I jump in here, Mayor?
Absolutely, sir. You have the floor.
There are inspection process that should happen when these vendors do any work in our city, and part of that closeout inspection should be making sure that those roads are put back in a condition similar to what they were before any work started. So what we have to do better is, as we do those closeout inspections, hold vendors accountable for the work that's being done.
I'm asking who in the department, which department holds them accountable?
Well, it depends on which department is doing it, because engineering will do some, permits and inspection will do some. Just depends on what particular work is being done there, is who's going to do the inspection. It's not like one inspector does every kind of inspection. You have different types of inspectors that do different types of inspections based on the type of work that's being done.
Second question on that same line is oversight planning to see when these guys plan to dig up our roads and the repairs. I'd hate to see us repair a road and then them come 6 months later and dig it up.
So
You'll have some interaction with them, I
yes, sir.
understand?
Before we decide, we'll put together a list of the roads that we plan to pave. We'll send that out to all of the potential not contractors, but potential, especially internal departments that could potentially go back and tear up the road, like utilities or engineering. So we will send that out. They'll tell us about projects they have going on, like we are only doing the portion of Portsmouth Boulevard because engineering has a project that's on Portsmouth Boulevard, that if we do that, they will go back in and tear up the road. So we will send it out, make sure that they don't have any projects in the area, and then if they say no, they clear it, that's when we go back and pay.
So we had rising sea level study done for our critical roads that were some of the state roads. And it came up with the plan of some of the roads we need to raise 3 to 5 feet, including Effingham and some other ones. Is there any foresight to see, are we going to seek grants for some of that? Is there a follow-up plan for some of that?
Can I get up in here again?
Scott, sure, you have the floor.
Absolutely. Those aren't roads that we're going to take care of that way. That's what OLDCC made that recommendation on some roads that affect the military bases around us.
Correct.
So we're seeking some Department of Defense help if we get some of that, because that's the reason we did that study, to kind of position ourselves to be able to go after those kind of grants.
That's the question I was waiting to see, where we're going to go after the grants from. Good job. So last year when you came before us, you gave us kind of an estimate of how much totally we were behind in order to get up to 70. So if you were to summarize and give us a rough estimate, to say we were to catch it up next year, totally everything to a 70, can you estimate what a budget for that might be? Just rough number, I'm just curious. How far we are behind, basically.
That I couldn't give you that answer. That's not an answer I could not give you.
We don't want to just throw a number out at you.
Right.
That was a number we prepared for, so we don't want to just...
I don't want to press for it.
Right, okay.
Thank you, but can I talk to you about it?
Sure.
Good. Thank you very much for your presentation. This very good analysis.
Thank you.
Councilman Hugo, sure, you have the floor.
Yeah, thanks, Mr. Mayor. Mr. Roberts, thanks for the presentation. Clear that a lot of thought went into this. So we're only about a third of the way through the paving money that we had budgeted for FY26. So we got 2/3 of the paving left to go between now and, well, really by the end of the month to the end of June. Are we having trouble getting paving contractors? Is that why we only got a third of the way through during the good weather in the first half of 2026? Or is, because I'm hearing with Hampton Roads Bridge Tunnel and some of the other big projects around Hampton Roads that everybody's having trouble finding people to do paving. Is that?
You want to try it?
So we have 2 vendors that take care of our paving. Our strategy was to do portions of it prior to it getting cold. We do know a lot of vendors, a lot of other big projects happen during that time from July to November. They're trying to crunch it and get it done. We decided to say, like, we would get a portion of it done, send them the roads that we want to complete, and give them a start date. And both vendors will be working concurrently as they move through February to June. So we won't have a problem getting our roads paved in that portion. This is the time when most municipalities take an opportunity to get their roads paved.
Okay, so we've got 2 contractors that are committed now to get the FY26 paving done.
Yes.
Do we have new contracts for FY27 or options on the existing contracts to keep going with the folks that we're working with?
So yes, so 2 of the vendors, both vendors are dedicated to Portsmouth. We just have to send them they've already are aware of the roads for FY27. They just want start dates. That's it.
Okay. So I want to maybe pile on to the comment that Councilman Dodson made. So I'll put this in the category of we don't have enough time to do it right, but we always got time to do it over. So the manholes on Cedar Lane, we had to go back and do over because we got in a hurry and did the paving before we had the parts that we needed to bring the manhole covers up to grade. The issue on Portsmouth Boulevard where somebody dug up the road and whoever was supposed to QA what they didn't do a very good job of QAing based on the outcome, and so it left us with a problem and you're going to fix it, that's the good news. The bad news is we should have never had the problem to begin with. If we had done QA on Cedar Lane, if we had done QA on Portsmouth Boulevard, utility ditch on High Street next to Baines Points, like a speed bump. I mean, so there's places around the city where somebody patched, wasn't a very good job, and now we either have a hole that is busting up tires or we have a bump that's busting up tires. So my encouragement is if we got multiple departments that are on the hook to do QA, maybe we ought to do some training for what that QA ought to look like so that we get the good results every single time.
Can I throw something in there on that?
Yes, sir.
It's not a matter of training on this, sir. It's a matter of holding those accountable. We're supposed to be holding the other people accountable.
Yeah.
We got to do a whole different mindset of how we participate in projects around our city. We got to have more ownership in what we do. So it's not a matter of they don't know what to do. It's just a matter of sometimes we haven't held those accountable, whose job it is to hold other people accountable.
Yeah. Okay, I appreciate that. I was trying to give them the benefit of the doubt. And my last question, so I'll use Frederick Boulevard through Mid-City as the example. So must it be concrete underneath the asphalt because now there's expansion joints and every expansion joint has a bump. We're not planning on paving Frederick Boulevard according to our chart. So does that mean that for now until FY28, people got to keep driving over those bumps, or is there something that could be done to mill? And it's not just Frederick Boulevard, just that happens to be my path home. So every time I drive through Mid-City, I'm bumping on my way home. And we got that problem pretty much any place in the city where we had concrete and then asphalt laid over the top of it. Is there a solution to that doesn't require repaving?
So, yes, those joints are apart, and Frederick Boulevard is one of those roads that we have looked at intensively, and we will have to do something separate than just the paving portion. We are looking at other options as removing the concrete and just having a base. We are looking at options of what happens if we pave over it, fix the joints and pave over it. That's not a easy fix, and it's going to be substantial just because of the concrete base that's underneath. So we are looking at Frederick Boulevard. That is one of the roads that's on our list that we say we have to fix immediately. We just have to come up with the best, most efficient game plan for it.
So I guess what I'm suggesting is that is going to be, to do the right fix is going to be a ways out there because it's going to cost a lot of money to do what you're talking about doing. Is there something we can do in the meantime to shave the humps, the asphalt humps, so that it's smoother than it is right now in the meantime?
We can look and talk to the contractor to see about fixing the joints and then repairing those joints. It'll give us a temporary fix.
So
Yeah.
the permanent fix is out there somewhere.
Right.
I'm just looking for Band-Aids in the meantime.
So,
Okay,
yeah.
thank you.
Vice Mayor Moody, sir, you have the floor.
Thank you, Mayor. Great presentations, Mr. Roberts. The bridges, I noticed West Norfolk Bridge wasn't listed. Is that because that's state responsibility?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so we have no responsibility.
For West Norfolk Bridge, no, we only maintain the 5 local bridges that are listed.
Is the state aware, because that bridge is definitely showing some wear and tear due to the truck traffic, a lot of pitting. I'm sure you travel across it as well and have seen that. Has the state got any plans to address that?
We have to talk to VDOT about that. They have their own inspection process and their own grading and their own plan for state-funded or state-maintained roads. I haven't talked to them about that particular bridge, though.
And also the bridges, the number of bridges that are listed in fair condition, is that relative to what? The structural integrity or the paving aspect of it?
The rating. So there's a rating from 0 to 6. And that 6 is excellent. 5 is going to be fair. All of our bridges are 5 with the exception of the Paradise Creek Bridge, which is a 4, which is on the contract.
Yeah, who rates that?
VDOT. They give us,
VDOT.
it's the same thing as our critical condition index. Bridges are a GCR, which is a good condition rating. So they score it, and we pretty much look at the score, and we know what the thresholds are. 4s, replace, restructure. 5s are fair, 6 are excellent.
Do they give us a punch list saying, this bridge needs painting, welding, whatever?
They don't do that. We go on and we look at the GCR, and engineering will come up with a game plan as to when and where, and when and how we replace.
Okay. Also, the lining of the roads. A lot of our roads, as I travel around the city, just need, the markers. The Town Point Road is one, Twin Pines. Could probably reel them off. That's extremely important, I think, from a safety standpoint. How do we address that? Is there a system in place to do that, or?
So currently we focus on the roads that are mill and overlaid. Now, that's a part of the preservation that I was speaking about earlier. Not just microsurfacing, not just slurry sealing, but actually, as we scan the roads, we know where fading markers are, turning lanes, and replacing those. That's a part of the preservation for the roads.
Okay. And I know
Striping is not done out of that department. That's traffic engineering that handles striping.
And getting back to the speed bumps on Portsmouth Boulevard, that project was a relatively recent project, and I'm really disappointed that we didn't hold the contractor accountable to get that work, that repaving, back to grade, because saying there's speed bumps is an accurate description. I guess about that. Thanks for the presentation.
Yes, sir.
Councilwoman Thomas, ma'am, you have the floor.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you so much for the presentation. I wanted to question, I know Councilman Dotson asked about the DOD, I believe, grant for the sea level rise study that was done. I wanted to ask about what other VDOT grants we're focusing on for some of the work that we have coming up and in the future. I learned about quite a bit of those grants, or government grants, state-funded grants that were available at the VML last week. So are we looking at any grants for some of this work?
So VDOT does do applications for state of good repair. State of goods repair is only on state roads that are below the threshold of this 60, and any state road that they deem that's repairable, we have to match. But they give their grant is 1.5, and we just have to match that. We just have to identify, like Frederick Boulevard would be considered a state road. However, matching that wouldn't go too far on Frederick Boulevard. So that's an example of the state. It's called the state of goods repair, or we call it SGR.
Okay. I don't know if all of these other grants that, I looked up after the VMLs, just learning about some of the flood grants, the smart scale or whatever. Do we have I'll ask this to you, Mr. Carter, do we have a forward look always on getting whatever grant money, state-funded money is available? Because we have a lot of road work to do, a lot of infrastructure work to do, and just want to make sure we're getting, or at least applying for every available dollar that's out. Because I do feel like some of the projects that you mentioned maybe could fall under there. if we kind of take a look at those.
We absolutely use every funding source that we can. However, one of the things that we have to really be careful about is capacity to do those things in the timeline that those grants have. You know, grants come with a lot of strings attached, and if you don't maneuver through that grant in the exact way that the grant is designed, you end up in a worse shape than you were before you started the grant, because you did the work, you got to pay for the work, and you got to pay for the grant. So one of the things that I'm talking about to everybody right now is making sure that when you apply for grants, you can actually do the work in the timelines required and the quality that's required. One of the problems we've had in our past is not really paying attention how we maneuver through those things, and gets us in trouble sometimes. So we absolutely want to take advantage of every opportunity that we have, but those got to be smart choices, not just go after the dollar because the dollar is available.
Okay, thank you.
Can I follow that?
Absolutely, sir, you have the floor.
So I emailed you earlier today an email on the grant for looking at the overpasses and underpasses on the railroads.
Okay.
I think it's a Portsmouth Norfolk Belt line. We were talking about earlier about the trains extending, and that was one of the studies that might allow some better transportation around the city.
Okay.
I'd appreciate when you have a chance to an update on that grant. We also look at there's grant money available, they said, right now for that study.
Okay. I'll take a look at that. I haven't seen it today. Today was a bad day for
It was a
you.
bad day.
Yeah.
But when you get a chance, I'd love an
All right,
update.
I'll do it.
Councilwoman Bryant, and you have the floor.
Thanks, Mayor. Thank you, Mr. Roberts. Lots of good information here. I love that you tied this to our pillars, and I think you can tie it to the fifth pillar, because roads are important to school bus safety, so let's throw that in there, and we're hitting all 5 pillars. Just for clarity, because this was one of the first things that you mentioned, can you recap what we were paying for roads, what we paid this year, and we're pushing for the 7 million mark?
So we were spending for 16 years, we were spending $1.6 million in our roads. And FY24, we spent $3 million, and then FY25, we invested this year. We invested 3.3 million, and then FY26 we are at 5.4.
3.26 to 5.24. And does this note on budget alignment page, it says 5.4 million planned, 1.6 million under commitment. Does that 22% below target, does that mean your department had asked for more and we cut some out?
Well, we believe that $7 million is the target.
Okay.
Is the target to keep us sustainable. Of course, the cost of doing business goes up every year.
Right.
But at $7 million, we can move from $7 million.
Okay.
Versus a constant under-commitment, I should say.
So 7 million
Can I throw
more.
something in there before you finish?
Oh, yeah.
The question you asked was, did he ask for more and was it cut?
Yeah.
Yes. He asked for 7, and we ended up with 5.4 just
Right.
because of budget pressures on
Right.
other things.
Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, so to recap, we were woefully behind, which created terrible road conditions, making us lowest in the region for our score of 48 out of 100. And we have crept toward more money, but we need to keep going higher to pull ourselves out. But that's going to take us, at that rate, it's still going to take us 10 to 15 years. Okay. So that helps us understand the urgency of funding and understanding how we got to where we are. Does the preserving the roads piece, the slurry, like you said, does that help our score, or does it just help us maintain? Does it help us increase or maintain?
It helps the score.
It does.
It does. It helps the score. The score is based on how the road is, the cracking, and the condition of the road. So slurry sealing, microsurfacing is almost like, extending the life,
Okay.
but not reconstructing the base.
Okay. Thank you for all this information. It was a wonderful presentation, and help us know how we can best communicate things for you. People are very interested in knowing about road paving, and we talk to people all the time. So if we can help you say, hey, this neighborhood, we're coming your way with some road paving in 2026 or 2027, then that's a good way that we can help you out.
Yes.
Councilman Jones? Okay. Well, Mr. Roberts, thank you for that presentation. Sorry I came in a little late, but roads are important, so I hope you and the team keep on our paving and making them so that we're happy to ride on them.
Oh, thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Are you switching out? You next?
I'm next.
Okay,
Yeah, I'm next.
I thought you were going to give him more opportunity. He's also the second.
Superman and Batman.
All right, cool. He's also the next presenter for the right-of-way crew pilot.
Right-of-way maintenance. So, Public Works Department is looking to expand to a division specifically for right-of-way maintenance. This is enhanced the right-of-way maintenance, and it's really more community improvement. So we'll talk about our division, the new division, the expanded division, our scope analysis, our timeline, our budget, and our risk, and how we are organized the division. Our project overview, our strategic vision really is to launch a comprehensive pilot project, but not pilot. When we say pilot, because we were looking at originally we were looking at just doing business districts, but we expanded that to primary roads and secondary roads as it pertains to the right-of-way. We believe that a right-of-way division gives us an ability to enhance the aesthetics in the city, to kind of curb some of the blight in the city. We do feel that a right-of-way division will give us that. It will also give us, it will improve the city's aesthetics, and it create a more attractive urban environment. And our safety will safety improvements enhance the safety for pedestrians from debris removal, vegetation, and reducing any potential hazards. Our analysis, how we look at it, this division will be mowing grass, herbiciding applications on primary and secondary roads, comprehensive litter control with defined areas. We mean by like our hot spots where we have illegal dumping, those areas where overgrown vegetation are on concrete, those areas that are in the business districts where there may be litter on those areas, identifying those. Services services exclusions. Parks and Rec handles the median. They already have a contractor mowing the grass and controlling the median, but they do not do the right-of-way. So this division will completely do the right-of-way. We'll do the sidewalks in the business districts. The tricky part is just the residential neighborhoods and tertiary roads, because trying to go in every neighborhood right away would be tremendous. So we are focusing on mainly the primary and secondary, what residents can see, what visitors can see, and to enhance the aesthetics of the city. Our stakeholders are the residents, council, local businesses, any business in those areas where there's overgrown vegetation or it's within the right-of-way and the grass is growing through the concrete, we will be taking care of those areas. What are our deliverables? Our deliverables are clear sidewalks, controlled vegetation, debris-free right-of-ways, and a comprehensive assessment, meaning we will assess exactly what we are doing. If we say we're going to do it, then we do it. There's a handout that breaks down as we go through the budget. It does break down the potential equipment we will purchase, what personnel, and the staffing. What are our timelines? Our timeline starts now, council presentation. And from there, with the approval, then we sit down and we develop our equipment, the staffing, right size staffing for the division, right size equipment. What equipment do we really need? What areas are we going to focus on? And the rotation and the cycles of those areas. Once the division is created, we'll do a first quarter division review. Figure out we'll track the budget, make sure we are tracking. Is our coverage effective? Do we need to go back and adjust something? This gives us an idea, this gives us an opportunity to make any adjustments within the early phase of the division. The next is a division review in 180 days. This gives us our mid-year evaluation. 90 days gives us our first look. 180 days give us a more in-depth look at what we will be look like from a budget standpoint. What is our community impact? Meaning, what is the response we are getting from our community? And we'll determine if we need to strategy as far as when we sit down for next budget cycle, do we need to expand or do we need to purchase new equipment? The budget, we are estimating because it's estimations, and we did do our research in the handout as far as how much certain pieces of equipment will cost and what personnel will cost. So on the low end, we're looking at $600,000 for the division, and on the higher end, we're looking at $676,000 for the division. Our major costs are labor, equipment, and chemicals for this division. Detailed breakdown, what we think staff would cost on the low end, what we think staffing it would cost on the high end. Also, the total projected budget on the low end, the high end, and what we think the equipment purchasing would cost up front. The labor components and supplies, chemical supplies, are things that we can't really, we don't know how much we would need, so those are variables. Our risk management strategy. Within the right-of-way, there will be traffic controls. We would have to have a strong traffic control plan. We would have to have proper signage, coordinate our traffic controls for safety protocols. Because if we're working within the right-of-way and on primary roads and secondary roads, those are high traffic, high speed areas where safety is paramount. Equipment repairs, those could be issues. Newer equipment that we have not been utilizing, so issues with equipment could be a risk. And weather dependency on rainy days, on really cold days. Those areas, I mean, those could be risk, but those are just like weather dependent. The pillars. So pillar one is always get stuff done. This is a part of getting stuff done. And since council's vision and our strategic pillars, we want to tie anything and everything that we do to our pillars. So this part of right-of-way maintenance is getting stuff done because it also aligns, executes, and delivers through any track milestone over 250 days. It delivers results that our residents can see, feel, and are cleaner streets and maintain right of way. Pillar 2 is financial excellence. We have a structured budget with clear cost controls. We also will have KPIs and tracking to be able to be responsible for our capital planning, and that also supports our operational efficiency. And the Pillar 4 is safe. As we were going through it, trying to figure out what other pillar we could tie it, Pillar 4 is safe and thriving community. It directly addresses safety you can feel and pride you can see. Through enhanced pedestrian safety, improved aesthetics, citywide beautification, community pride, and well-maintained public spaces. We believe that this division's total focus will be maintaining the right-of-way, and controlling and improving the aesthetics of the city. And with that, have any questions?
Vice Mayor Moody.
Thank you again, Mr. Roberts, for a great presentation. I'm glad to see the road piece, the beautification and maintenance of the visuals that we see driving throughout the city. But my question is, were these things previously being done by contractors?
Let me take that.
Yes.
Sporadically. We were more reactive than proactive on these. Somebody calls because somebody saw something, and we'll have either part of our Parks and Recreation team or some contractor go out and try to eradicate that. But this is more of a proactive approach to this, where this maintenance will be done on a routine basis all the time.
But we did have contracts for, say, grass mowing?
Yes, yes.
Okay, will this include the school piece, or do they do their own contracting?
No, they do their own.
Okay. So...
Now, this is right away, so I'm kind of confused as to what you're asking on the school piece.
Well, on the right-of-way, some of that pertains to schools as well.
On school property, but this is for the roads itself, not on any particular property. If the property is owned,
city easement, right?
Right.
Yeah. So is there any savings from us doing it ourselves versus some of this being contracted out?
Absolutely, but the main thing is, again, it's on a regular routine basis. If you want to contract out to do this on a schedule basis where we're talking about doing it, it's going to cost you considerably more than having on your own staff that you can schedule and go and do those things with.
Right.
So yes.
Now, when we're talking about city right-of-ways, is this going to include litter control as well?
Yes, litter is part of this process.
Okay, that's good. Especially in the entranceways to some of our major gateways. I'm glad to see that. But I'm also glad to see, Mr. Roberts, I don't know if you put the presentation together, but it actually had your name as the presenter.
Yeah.
You know, we get a lot of paper, and sometimes we go back and want to know who made that presentation, because we may have a question following that. And one of my pet peeves for a long time is whoever makes the presentation should take ownership by having the name on it. So I congratulate you for doing that.
Yes,
At least on one
an extra points for putting your name on it,
Oh, okay. I didn't know if Councilman Tillich was before me, but thank you, Mayor. Thank you for this presentation. I'm also glad to see us addressing beautification of our right-of-ways. I know we talked a bit about beautification of our city gateways or entryways. Is this part of this project process? No, that's separate.
No, the Parks and Recreation has a whole different plan for dealing with those gateways now. This may end up being some maintenance to that afterwards, but just because they're part of our right-of-way, but the beautification is a whole different set of, a whole different project than this.
Okay. And then my next question is regarding about how many right-of-ways do we have, like, that we will have to maintain?
It's a lot. It is a lot. You're talking about all of the primary roads and secondary roads.
On both sides of them.
Both sides.
There's double amount of roads.
So how will we, or how will you prioritize where to start?
High visibility areas first, where there's high visibility as far as traffic travel and where there is foot traffic, a high visibility of foot traffic. So those are the areas that we plan to start first and then expand ourselves out from there.
Okay, that's good to hear. I would definitely want to make sure some of our more neglected areas are prioritized as well. And they probably fall into the way you're prioritizing with high visibility and high foot traffic. And I think that's it. So thank you for the presentation.
Councilman Tillett, sir, you have the floor.
Thank you, Mayor. First, I want to say that I'm really excited about this right-of-way piece. As the city manager knows, I send a lot of emails and pictures and stuff as I drive throughout the city. So I'm excited about this, and I've talked to people at Civic Leagues, so I was really happy it's coming because I've told them it was coming. And so they've been very excited about this as well.
Awesome.
First question I have, though, is in regards to the current lawn contractors that we have that maintain our right-of-ways and medians. I know that currently falls under Parks and Rec. Will they now be falling under this division so there's more of a streamlined process of communication?
Hadn't thought about that yet, but that may be something that we need to realign so that as his guys are out, they know where to actually send these people. So we'll talk about that.
Yes. Yeah,
That's a very good idea.
Yeah, make things a little bit more convenient and easier for communication purposes. And then also with like our on and off ramps that go onto the interstates. Some have said that they're state-owned,
They are.
city-owned, right away.
They're not. They're state-owned.
State-owned.
Yes, and they
So-
will run us off of them.
Yeah. So with this division,
Yes.
is there a way that we can build and maintain a relationship with VDOT to find out, number one, if they can assist to come out and do those? Because if we can clean our streets all day long, but if those on and off ramps look terrible. They're still, it's an eyesore, and I can name quite a few of those now.
Right.
So it would be beneficial for this division to be able to maintain and build relationships with VDOT and see, number one, if they could do it. But if they couldn't do it, if there's an agreement that VDOT and the city could form that would allow the city to be able to at least clean up the ramps.
We can explore, but I can't promise.
Yeah,
Okay.
absolutely. And that's all I have right now.
Good. Thank you.
Hugo.
Thanks, Mayor. So, Mr. Roberts, thanks again for a great presentation. Appreciate you putting your name on there. You can add some page numbers next time.
Oh, man,
So,
you're doing so well.
I want to pile on maybe to what Councilman Tillage was talking about. So I appreciate that we're going from reactive to proactive. In my mind, proactive means we're going to have a schedule. Really important that we communicate the schedule. Okay, so collaboration with Parks and Rec, collaboration with VDOT, collaboration with Civic League. So I got it that we're not going into the residential areas, but if we're cleaning up the main arteries through some neighborhood, and I'll use Wilson Ward maybe as the example because Miss Elvira has coordinated Portsmouth Boulevard cleanups with her Civic League.
Right.
Well, if we're going to do that, that's great, but we need to be communicating what our plan is so that she can dovetail a Civic League plan in to get kind of away from Portsmouth Boulevard when we come through. Our adopt a spot people, I guess we still do adopt a spot. Yeah, and kind of back to those ramps. So if you're cleaning up the main arteries, then, and if we have any adopt a spotters or the Clean Community Commission, another group that we want to coordinate with, because they're out doing cleanups too. We don't need to all be cleaning up the same places, hopefully. If you guys are going to take care of the main right-of-ways, then we can put some of those other resources into some of those other areas where it looks like, McDonald's bags going out the window on the way to the highway. And then once upon a time, the sheriff used to take inmates out to do some of this stuff. I haven't seen that in a while. Maybe, manager, you can check with the sheriff to see if there's an opportunity to work collaboratively there too.
Absolutely, can't think of it. I think that stopped during COVID times. I'm thinking it was recaptured after that.
It stopped during the COVID time, and it just, because of what the sheriff explained to me, because of staffing and also other regulations, we just weren't able to reinstitute. They didn't have as many people to go out and do it as they had in the past.
Yeah, but we can have a conversation, absolutely.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Councilman Johnson, so you have the floor.
Yes, sir. So I have just one intersection I want to report. Bob White coming into Portsmouth Boulevard. There's a mulberry tree and a set of bushes that I have reported, and they've cut it down 5 times. There's got to be a permanent solution to removing a mulberry tree and the bushes surrounding the fire hydrant there. Is there any way you can put that on your list? I would really appreciate it.
Is that city right away, or is that private property we're talking about?
It's coming up in the corner of the sidewalk. And it's
What's the name of
around
the
the
street?
fire hydrant.
What's the street?
Can't get to the fire hydrant. Bob White and Portsmouth Boulevard.
Bob White, that's the name of the street?
Yes.
It's not a person, right? That's what I was asking.
Also, a citizen reported to me that our downtown trees were scheduled to be height restricted. In other words, when they got to a certain height, they were to be cut down and replaced by smaller trees, and there's supposed to be a cycle to that. I don't know if that report that they gave me was true or not, but I'd love to get some feedback as to, because the trees seem to be invading the sidewalk and the road and the sewer system down there now. That we've got some complaints from some of the business owners down there who've had to have their lines cleaned of the roots down there because they've become so invasive. I don't know how much.
I'm sorry.
I don't know how much of the tree maintenance is true of that story, but I would appreciate a report back if we could.
I've got to talk to our arborist about the tree maintenance piece of that. That won't fall with these guys, so, but I can get that information for you.
I thought there was a right-of-way there on both sides and the
Yeah,
center.
but they're not going to cut trees down or do tree pruning. Now, if the tree is like on the side of the road and it's overlapping the sidewalk, they just, they cut it off so that the entry to the sidewalk's there. But these guys are not. These aren't the surgeons for the trees. These guys are just going to come with a chainsaw and cut. You know what I mean? That's kind of what they're doing. You want to talk to the arborist about what you're talking about.
Can I ask then your
I'll take
report back if you don't mind?
Absolutely. I'll take
Thank you,
care.
sir.
Yeah.
I don't know the truth of that report, and that's why I was hoping to find out if there was some substantial information behind it.
Yeah, that's why I want to talk to the arborist. That falls under him. That would be something that just everybody deal with.
Mr. Roberts.
Yes, sir.
So in our quest to become the best city in America, I'm really excited about this strategy. I think that it's come to be something that we should expect, and these secondary and primary roads, there are some, particularly if you go down High Street headed toward Churchland, when you get past where those bushes are all on the side, before you get to the Navy Federal, those are, it really is hazardous. So I'm really glad to hear that we're going to be doing this. And it's exciting. And we can say this to the community. We've got a timeline, and people will have something to look forward to. So I want to encourage you and your team to get to work and get stuff done, and we'll support you all the way. Okay? Thank you, sir.
Awesome. Hey, great job, man. Appreciate that.
Yes, great job.
All right, we got the next contestant up. Mr. Mike Miller is the interim director for permits and inspection. He's going to talk about the code enforcement and neighborhood quality.
Well, good evening, Mayor, Vice Mayor, members of council. Yes, I'm here tonight to talk to you a little bit about code enforcement and neighborhood quality as it sort of pertains to the Department of Permits and Inspections. So the purpose of code enforcement is to ensure that structures within the city are built and maintained to the standards of the Virginia Uniform Statewide Building Code, and that the properties in the city are maintained to the standards of the code of the city of Portsmouth. But tonight what we're going to do is we're going to focus on part 3 of the building code, which is the maintenance code. That's for existing buildings, and it regulates how they're to be maintained and kept up. And then mainly chapter 17 and 23 of the Code of Portsmouth, which deals with housing conditions and nuisances. So code enforcement is performed in the city of Portsmouth on a proactive basis. We have a series of neighborhood inspectors, and the city's divided into 14 inspection districts, and those districts are broken out into 5 areas in each district. So we have 7 areas in the city, 70 areas in the city that are patrolled on a weekly basis by these inspectors. So our city staff is made up of 3 inspection team leaders, or our division staff for this, I should say, is made up of 3 inspection team leaders and 14 neighborhood inspectors. So the inspection team leaders supervise 4 to 5 neighborhood inspectors directly under them. They manage the C-Click Fix program for our department. And they also manage special programs such as our commercial pool inspection program, rental inspections, derelict structures, and our demolition program. And they train all the new employees that come in and will work directly under them. Our neighborhood inspectors, they inspect neighborhoods on a weekly basis. They attend civic leagues. They issue notices of violation. They act as expert witnesses in court when we have to seek remedy in the court system to correct violations. And they perform stress assessments on damaged buildings. So the specific types of inspections that they're conducting when they're out there on a daily basis is property maintenance, high grass and weeds, debris, inoperable motor vehicles, rental inspections, and they perform complaint investigations. So first off, when they ride the neighborhoods, they're doing a windshield inspection. They're up and down the streets, they're looking out at the properties, and they'll say take a property such as this. They're looking at all these aspects here of the structure itself, even the accessory structures like fences, sheds, gazebos. We look at the condition of that as well as the condition of the property. They're also looking at city code issues, high grass and weeds, the debris, inoperable vehicles, things such as that. And they will write one notice of violation that encompasses everything they find at the day of the inspection. So property maintenance, what they're kind of looking for there, these are some of the key things that are there. Peeling paint, broken windows, missing siding, rotten wood, unsafe handrails, and property address. Property address is kind of key, it seems minor, but it's a safety issue. Emergency response needs to be able to know where they are. Fire and rescue, police, if they have to respond, it keeps them from having to guess where they're going. They've got an address there. So any violations of the property maintenance code, the person gets 30-day notice with a violation to correct it. If it's not corrected within 30 days, they get a final notice with an additional 30 days to correct the violation. Now, at any time in this process, they can come in and request an extension, and we will sit down, look at case-by-case basis, see if they have a valid reason for their extension, and we work with the citizen to make sure that we can get them into compliance. If we can't get compliance in that 60-day period, then we'll go to the city attorney's office and we'll seek remedies in the court. So some of our city code inspections, the one that's a big one we're getting ready to come into here in the spring, grass and weeds. So the code says any grass or weed that grows over 10 inches in the city must be abated. So an inspector, while they're out in their neighborhoods, they carry along these posters you'll see in grade stakes. So they'll notice the violation, they'll go ahead and post the property while they're there. They'll come in and issue a notice of violation where the citizen's given 10 days to correct the issue. If they don't, then we move to a contracted grass cutting service that will go out and take care of the issue. Then that cost is billed to the citizen in a way as a lien against their taxes, and the city treasurer will collect that. Now, they're given 2 notices in a calendar year, and that creates that's notice for the year. So after 2 notices, we move straight to cutting. So the 3rd time the inspector's out there, they notice that high grass, they're going to come right back and have the contractor come out and take care of it. Now, another big issue we deal with around is debris. So debris is anything that's discarded or abandoned, such as appliances, scrap metal, auto parts, and a big one that we deal with is non-weather resistant items. And our center slide is an example of that. What's there, if you can't see it, it's indoor furniture. It's some chairs that somebody took out of their house, they put them on the porch, they go out there and sit. The issue is they weren't designed to be out there. So they'll collect water, they'll get waterlogged, mold, mildew, attract insects, so it becomes a health safety issue there. And then the other slide, the one on the corner with tires. Tires are a big issue throughout Hampton Roads. All the cities are dealing with it. It's just an issue. It costs to dispose of tires in some cases. If you have them, people just dump them, and everybody's dealing with it throughout the area. Now, an inoperable motor vehicle, that's a vehicle that for a period of 60 days can't be driven on a city street. So the tags have been expired for over 60 days, or it's been disassembled for over 60 days. So somebody working on a car, they're not reassembling it, they're leaving it like this with parts missing and things like that. So in this case, the inspector will notice that it's either been disassembled for 60 days or it's out of registration for 60 days. They'll issue a 10-day notice. If they don't correct it, they'll issue a final notice with another 10 days to give them a whole 20 days to try to correct this. And it can be corrected by repairing it, reassembling it, getting the registrations up to date, or they can cover it with a fitted car cover. And you can't use a tarp, it must be fitted and designed to fit that vehicle, or they can remove it from view, so they can put it behind a privacy fence or inside of a garage, and then the issue is taken care of. So now we'll go back to maintenance a little bit, some of our bigger issues that we deal with. Derelict structures. Now this is a structure that has heavy damage. It's a little more than property maintenance with just some peeling paint or a broken window pane. It's sustained major structural damage, and it can't be lived in at this point. It can't be used. So what will happen is an inspector will do a structural assessment, report it back to one of our team leaders that manages this program, and a notice will be sent giving the owner of the property 90 days to come in, meet with us, get a repair plan and a timeline of how long it's going to take to get these repairs done and the property brought up to code. It will be monitored throughout the process by the team leader and by one of our construction inspectors as the repairs are done to make sure they're up to code and done properly. Next, we have our demolition cases, and some of these will come from the derelict structures. If we don't get response, we go through that 90-day process with them and they're not getting it, we'll move it over. And we just moved 5 cases this week from the derelict to the demolition process, where we will pursue demolition of the property. But when we get to this is an unsafe and beyond repair type of structure. It's something like you see here, or something like we saw in the previous slide. So what will happen here is the owner of the property will be given a 30-day notice of our intent to demolish the structure. So they can come in and they can take over. They can say, okay, we don't want you to do it. We don't want your administrative fees. We'll take care of it, and they can provide us a plan for doing that. It also requires newspaper advertisement. We have to have confirmation that the notice was sent. So we have to do a certified mail and get returned, and we have to advertise in the newspaper for 2 consecutive weeks to make sure that there's proper notice given before we can demolish the structure. Once that's done, we go through procurement, we go through the bid process, and we award a contract. We have to make sure also that all utilities are cut off, gas and electricity, safety issues, and we also have to make sure that the water lines and the sewer lines are cut and capped so we're not contaminating the water supply or having sludge or things back up into and clog the sewer system. In some of this, to speed up here, we've recently redone our derelict structure and demolition program to streamline it more and make it move faster. So some of these that used to run under previous management that didn't run concurrent, they now do. So some of the things, we're bound by state code, but there's some stuff that can overlap, and we've cut out as much time as we can. And we even start with getting the utility cut off. So even if the owner comes back and says, no, I'm going to take care of it, we've started that process so that we can then hand them the cutoff letters and help move it forward a little bit faster. And then emergency demolitions, that's going to take place on a case-by-case basis. We'll have issues where there's a fire, vehicle impact, something like that we have to go out and do something we'll do a structural assessment, and we can move faster if we deem it unsafe to the community. So I've got some numbers a little bit here for you, what we did in 2025. We cited a little over 11,000 violations were cited throughout the city, combination of property maintenance and city code, and we corrected over 13,000. So we had a little overlap from 2024, came into 25 to get compliance. We had 1,700 inspections that came from complaints throughout the city from many different sources. We had 422 that we referred to other departments. So things that were under the fire code went to the fire marshal, zoning complaints went over to zoning, police, things in the right of way go to the police. 393 complaints were unfounded. We got out there, somebody had a complaint, wasn't there. A big one for that for us is grass. We'll have somebody call in on a Friday afternoon and say, you know, the grass down the street from me is too high. The inspector will get out there Monday morning while the person's taking care of it over the weekend, they've gotten the grass cut. So we'll find unfounded complaints sometimes in that, or an inoperable vehicle that's got expired tags, it's still running, they're driving on the street, inspector goes by, vehicle's gone, it's unfounded. But they continue to look for things like that to see if it comes back. But less than 12% of our violations written come from complaints. Most of it's from our inspectors out there on the street day to day looking for the violations and citing them as they see them. So, you know, we get a lot of questions from the citizens of, you know, why am I still seeing this? Why does this property, why is it still there? Why is this violation still there? Well, it takes time. There's property rights and due process issues. We're required by the state to make sure we notify the property owner and they have every opportunity to correct it before we take action. And a lot of times we have complications with ownership. And we have deceased owners, unsettled estates, that it's hard, they're in probate. We have to try to notify everybody involved with that. Foreclosure proceedings. We'll have properties, somebody defaults on their mortgage, they're going to get, the house is going to be foreclosed on. Well, they haven't maintained the property, they haven't paid the mortgage. But then the lender has rights, so we have to then make sure we get in touch with the bank or the lending institution because they have rights. It's their property that they hold the note on. Absentee and out-of-state owners. A lot of military in this area. We have people buy homes in the city, they get transferred, they hold on to the home and rent it. Then there's a violation, or we have to find them. They may be overseas and it's hard to find them, it's hard to get the notices out there that are proper so that we can take care of it. And another one we find is our citizens in Portsmouth. We have a lot of lower income citizens and a lot of older citizens, senior citizens, that it's a hardship for them sometimes to get these things done. And we try to work with them as best we can, but it does take time. They may have limited money to put in, or they're just older and can't get the work done and don't have the help to do it in some cases. So how citizens can kind of get involved with this process and help us know more what we're doing is get involved with their civic league. Get out there. Our neighborhood inspectors attend the civic leagues in their neighborhoods on a regular basis. So they're there. They can listen to what the citizens want done. They can provide information back from what's going on here at the city, and that's a good way for citizen involvement. The other is use the See Click Fix program. It's the mobile app. They can do it anywhere. They don't have to wait from 8 to 5 Monday through Friday to call in with a complaint. They can go on that. It's mobile. They can do it from anywhere at any time. So the way we handle, See Click Fix last year, we had 702 See Click Fix cases. So if you remember earlier, we had 1,700 complaints. So we took 1,000 complaints over the phone or from referrals, such as you on council will send things our way that you hear when you're out in the community. We get referrals from other departments and people that do just call in on the phone during a work day. So we had 702 cases on See Click Fix. We closed out 539. And at the end of the year, there were 163 still open. And as I was preparing these slides, we were down to 129 when I was putting this together. So the case load's coming down there. So how it works in our department. The 3 team leads that I mentioned, they're responsible for the See Click Fix. So they go on, when the ticket comes in, they look at it, they look at the area of the city it's in, and they assign it to the neighborhood inspector. The neighborhood inspector is to investigate that request within 3 working days and report back to their team leader. If it's an unfounded case, then a comment is put in the C-Click fix to let the person that put in the ticket know, hey, it was not an issue, we've checked it, and that's how it is. If it is a valid complaint, then a notice of violation is issued. In the timelines that we talked about earlier, that's how it's dealt with. And the C-Click fix case is updated throughout the process. So the person that put it in will know what's going on as it goes through the process. So a little bit about what we can do in code enforcement, and we'll get to what we can't do. So the inspectors can inspect the exterior of a property. Anything that they can see from the public right-of-way, they can write up. They can't go outside of that. It has to be visible from the right-of-way. They can establish compliance deadlines. They can work with the neighbors and the people in the city to get things done. They can use abatement measures. That's our cut the grass, remove the debris. They can issue condemnation notices. They can refer cases for legal action, and they can go to the city treasurer and place liens on the property for any work that's done out there. Now, what they cannot do, cannot enter an occupied structure unless we're invited in. So it may think there's a violation to that building, but we can't go in and look at it. We can only look at what we see outside. We can't cite the violations that are out of view. You know, our friend here on the ladder, we can't do things like that. Can't use ladders, can't use drones, can't stand on the bumper of the car to look over. Can't use Google Maps. We've had citizens send in complaints before. They want to send us a Google Map aerial view. That's not admissible. We can't do anything with that. We can't deal with the aesthetics of a property. The only enforcement the city has with the way a property looks is in the historic districts, and that falls under planning. They can regulate the color and things like that. All we care about when it comes to is it painted it's because it's a protective coating. It doesn't matter what it looks like. It can be any color, whatever, however they want to do it. We don't get into selling disputes between neighbors. That's a civil matter. We get complaints from time to time about he parked a little over the line onto my property, his bushes are growing over, the tree fell across the line. That's all civil, and we don't settle that. We don't enforce codes regulated by other departments. We don't go and enforce the fire code. We don't enforce the zoning issues. We're in the building code, and we're in the 2 chapters we mentioned of the city code. We cannot ignore due process requirements. The timeline is the timeline set by code, and we must follow that. And we have to apply standards selectively. And what helps us with that is our proactive approach in our neighborhoods. We go down, we up and down the streets on a regular basis. We don't single out or target any specific area. So some things that slow down our enforcement, difficulty identifying areas. I mentioned that earlier. Due process times. It takes time to get it through the system and get it done. Outdated technology. We have a 20 to 25-year-old permitting system right now that we deal with for inspections. It takes a lot of manual entry. Inspectors go into the field. They have to use pen and paper to write down the violations, take their photographs, come in and upload all that to process the notices of violation. Now, the city's in the process of getting a new permitting system that should be online later this year that's going to cut out a lot of that time. They'll be able to do everything on a tablet system in the field, and the only thing that would be generated in the office is just at the end, the notice of violation. And then, as I mentioned earlier, lack of owner resources, that slows things down. People don't have sometimes the time or the money to get it done, and we try to work with them to, if they truly want to do it and they're going to do it, we work with them to get them through the process. And we want to get a resolution. We're not interested in finding people and taking to court. We want to get the violation corrected. And employee turnover is not a big one, but it is something that slows it down. And we've come into a new process. It used to be an employee would leave us, and they were instructed to close out all the cases before they left. Well, now they work their cases until the end, and any cases that are left are then turned over to the team leaders so that they can keep being worked and they can move it forward. And if need be, we can go back and subpoena the former inspector if we do need to get them to come in for something. So what success would look like? Success looks like visible and lasting improvements in neighborhood conditions. The fact that The derelict structures are being taken down. We're getting new construction back into the neighborhoods. People are keeping their property up. We're not having a big issue with grass and weeds. We don't have a lot of debris throughout the areas. We have fewer repeat violations. And our main repeat violations, that is grass. People don't get their grass cut in a timely manner. And vehicles, we'll have an issue with repeat on vehicles. And then timely case resolution. So here's some slides showing what success looks like. This house here, this is a house that one of our neighborhood inspectors worked with the homeowner. It's like I mentioned, it was one of our citizens with limited funds. You can see the slides there on the left, how the condition of the property. And then this took a year and a half or so to get this from beginning to end. But you can see what it turned out. It turned out to be something nice. It's come through the process. This was a property that we did have to demo this. It went through a lot of ownership change and notification process, but we just finished this not too long ago. It was a rundown house and a shop building next to it. That was taken down. Now in the top right, you can see a white house there in the background that's run down. That's out for bid right now, so you should see that coming down here in the near future. And the property behind it, that's sort of an L-shaped piece of property that works around behind what we've cleared there, and that will be removed along with that other structure. Now these slides, the top one, this is an example of a property owner taking the initiative to go in and clean up their property we didn't issue violations or anything for this, but the owner's gone in and taken this strip of buildings along County Street and gone through and cleaned them up. And he's doing a nice job with them. He's almost through. He's starting to get people back in there renting the properties. And then at the end, here at the bottom, we have, it was a little fourplex apartment out in Craddock that was damaged by fire. The owner came in and took it down and has put back something similar to match the historic district out there in Craddock. So at this time, I'll take any questions, and I may have my manager of code enforcement is here. She has a little clarity. She may step up. It's Robin Brown.
Councilman Tillett, sir, you have the floor.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you for this presentation. I have a couple of questions. First question is I get a lot of questions from members of the community in regards to violations that are related to grass versus shrubbery. And so one complaint that I received recently was there was a neighborhood where the grass was high, but the shrubbery was kind of overtaking the house. Mm-hmm. And from my understanding, I guess the city went out, assessed the property. The grass was cited as an issue, but the shrubbery was not. Can you elaborate on what the difference between grass and shrubbery would be and what the current code states?
Well, the grass, as I stated earlier, is 10 inches. So when grass and weeds get above 10 inches, we don't do anything with it. Now, if it's an occupied property?
This property was not an occupied property.
Okay. So I'll defer to you, Robin, on that one. There's a difference between the occupied and unoccupied when it comes to shrubs, correct?
Yeah. If the
We don't want to miss any of your work.
Good afternoon.
Good evening.
Mayor, City Council, City Manager. Robin Brown, Code Manager. The difference is if it's a vacant property, we can go in and we can request that not only the high grass and weeds be cited, but also any shrubbery for safety reasons or any type of illegal activity, we can go and then abate. But if it's an occupied property, then we don't have under code where we can say, because now when people say they want to go green, sometimes you can see people where they let the vines and things grow on their house or on their roof. We don't have the ordinances or the codes to say that we can go in and tell you to cut what's on your house if you live in it. Now, we do have the ordinances that say that your grass and your weeds can't be exceeding 10 inches, but not if it's occupied residence as far as the bushes and things that you want to grow on your house, unless it's covering windows or any type of means of egress, then we can cite you. But outside of that, we don't have the right to tell you to cut it if you live in it, but if it's vacant, we can.
Gotcha. And I appreciate that. And I think that that's something that, as a council, we need to look at this ordinance regarding occupied properties. Because I know in some neighborhoods that I've been out to that citizens have invited me to, the homes may be occupied and the shrubbery is so bad, I mean, it becomes almost a safety situation because people can be hiding in the shrubbery, especially in some of our dark, our low-lit areas. And so I think that's something we could probably look at, especially in some of our high crime areas, when we talk about removing blight and increasing safety. Because, for example, if you have a house at a corner, we can increase street lighting all day long, but if that shrubbery has overgrown that area, it's blocking the light anyway. And so I think that becomes a public safety issue. Second thing is, I saw in your presentation you mentioned outdated technology in your department. So that means I'm looking forward to seeing that on your budget request this year.
It's already been taken care of. It's actually, yeah, it was already budgeted in prior years. It's just, it's in the phase now where we're putting it together. That's why I said it would be ready towards the end of this year.
Gotcha.
So yeah, it's already, we're working and getting ready to go into the testing phase here to make sure it's been set up like it should.
Sounds good. I appreciate that proactiveness. And then the next one is about, I get a lot of complaints also about individuals that park on their grass. And so I've come to learn that depending on the neighborhood determines whether or not an individual can park or not park on their grass. And in addition to outdoor storage and farm animals. So if you have a neighborhood inspector who's out, how do they handle those types of situations?
Well, the things you've mentioned fall under the zoning department and planning mainly. So what would happen there is that's something we would refer. They would see it, the inspector would then refer it over to the planning department. The zoning officer would take a look at that. So that's the ordinance on parking on the grass. What it does say is the vehicles must be parked on an improved surface. It can't be. And Portsmouth doesn't see gravel as an improved surface. It has to be a hard surface such as concrete or asphalt.
Okay. So with the grass, I guess with outdoor storage, I mean, if I have just stuff sitting in my front yard, could I just say that that's outdoor storage?
No.
So how do we determine that?
You want me to answer?
You can go ahead, yeah.
Outdoor storage is something that they will consider associated with like a business. You know, you can maybe ride down Portsmouth Boulevard and see stacks of tires and stuff that has to do with cars or something like that. Something that's affiliated with a business would be considered outside storage. And if you have a whole lot of the same things. But if you ride down somebody's street and you go and you just see a bunch of trash or 2 tires or a front door in the front yard, that will fall under debris. That would be something that we would cite under debris. But open storage would be another zoning situation where the zoning would then go in, look at it, see if they have a business license, why they have these things out there, and then they would go further with their codes or violations that they would have. So there's a difference between open storage and debris.
Okay,
Yeah,
so
it applies mainly to commercial properties, like she's saying. It's commercial and industrials where you get the open storage.
So you do see these type of violations in yards. What is, I guess my question is the collaboration between your department and zoning. How does that, is it good? And then second question is how then, is it a follow-up to ensuring that like zoning did theirs and you all, like a check and balance situation?
Well, once it's referred to another department, whether we refer something to zoning or police or whatever, it's theirs now to handle. They take care of it, basically cradle to grave at that point. We don't necessarily follow up. Now, if our inspectors are out there, it's not to say if they see it, hey, it's still out here, let you know. Yeah, we're all up there on the 4th floor, so we're down there on the 4th floor. So yeah, it's, there's collaboration between the departments, and any of the departments in the city.
Okay, all right, thank you.
Councilman Bryant.
Thanks, Mayor. Thank you both for your presentation and answering questions. Want to ask you a little bit about communicating expectations to residents and then the communication on the other end. So there was a lot to communicate here, I would imagine, about particularities related to zoning. do you see any opportunities for how we could be doing that better? I know I've seen inspectors at Civic League meetings and they do a wonderful job connecting with people face to face. What other ways do you all communicate the expectations, maybe seasonally or just in general?
As far as the zoning and permits and inspections, you mean, or just, what do you mean?
Just inspection expectations. So, for example, the diagram you gave us of the house.
Right. Well, we haven't in the past had any open communication like that. And that's something that we can certainly look at going forward. I'm just into this position with what I'm doing. Robin's here, Ms. Brown isn't that long into it. So we're moving forward with new, like I mentioned, we've redone the derelict structure program. So that's something we can definitely look into is a better community-based knowledge program to get the message out there. Government 101's helping with that. We're doing those programs, so that's getting message out to people. But it's something we could look at in the future. But prior management that was not something that they were working on.
I would imagine there's an opportunity there, something like we did with the winter preparedness tips, Mr. Carter, with the social media campaign to involve different departments on and show people what the expectations are. So I think there's an opportunity there. I know this gets a lot of attention. We get a lot of this. I know you guys obviously do. But sometimes a visual helps. And I think there's certainly, if you feel like that would be helpful for you all to do your job as
It probably would, and with the going forward now with the new website that the city's putting forward, that's something we can certainly work into our section, where we could put something that's up there, or maybe in the front banners. I can get with Peter and see how we could put something on there.
Especially for somebody who's maybe a younger property owner or a new property owner, just moved to the city. We had a lot of turnover with military, and people live in historic districts, and I know those have separate expectations and regulations, but there's a lot when you're a new homeowner, and if we could communicate that better. My other question related to communication is on the flip side, the example you gave us with the house that had indoor furniture outside.
Yes.
I'm certain those homeowners probably thought, I just want to sit outside and I'm going to put furniture there. So if we issue them a notification that there's a violation there, how much information are they getting? Does it just say something like furniture on porch, or does it explain the why? How much detailed information are they receiving so that they understand and don't just raise a complaint of, you're picking on me?
No, what the process is that if the inspector goes by and they see something, they not only send a notice, but they put a placard in the front yard and they'll circle whether it was debris or if it was high grass, and then they leave their information. The notice will follow, and in the notice, it tells you what the violation was, why it was a violation, and it also goes to tell you how you can correct it.
Okay.
What to do to correct it.
So it is specific then?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, we have the verbiage, we have
Not just a
everything
sticker
in
on a...
No.
Okay,
no.
they get a letter.
They get a letter. They
Okay.
get a notice of violation, and it indicates what was wrong, how to fix it, and when it needs to be fixed.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, thank you both.
Yeah, thanks, Mayor. So, hopefully with your new technology, and maybe it's always been available, but hopefully with your new technology, it would be interesting to see what the trends are on getting stuff fixed. So I'll give you an example. So our rules say 30 days, and then we do a demo. But it isn't 30 days. It's 30 days and then a whole bunch of other stuff. And it ends up being 6 months. So we know when the thing starts, and we know when the thing ends. And if it's currently typically 6 months, should it be 5 months? Should it be 8 months? Is 6 months good? Is 6 months bad? What's the trend? So one of the things I was writing down as you were going through, so we got 30 days times 2 for property maintenance, 10 days times 2 for grass and cars, 20 days for grass and debris, 20 days for motor vehicles, 90 days for derelict structures, 30 days for demo. And the fact is, this is just the opening salvo in each of those discussions, because there's this isn't a pothole that needs fixing, this is.
Right.
This is, you do something, and then you do it again, and then you deal with, they still haven't taken care of the problem because of whatever reason. And so, I mean, this is begging for a dashboard that allows us to go tell the citizens, hey, the good news is the team we're showing improvement because we're doing neighborhood inspections, or we're not showing improvement, we're actually getting worse. But we now know in the places where we're doing worse and we can do something about it. So I don't know whether the new technology gives you the ability to trend this stuff, to put a dashboard together to see how long should it take to demo, how long should it take to get rid of a motor vehicle that's sitting on cinder blocks. But hopefully we can figure out how to do that. So we have at least 3 or 4 cases I can think of where shopping center parking lots are being used for cars that don't belong there. And in fact, maintenance being done on cars in shopping center parking lots. Is that a permit thing? Is that a zoning thing? I mean, who owns that?
We do to a certain degree, and it's hard sometimes to catch the maintenance part because a lot of times they're not out there working on the car when
Sure.
we get to that. But we've recently, how many did we clear? We just got Churchland Shopping Center. There was
Yeah, we just towed
March.
11 vehicles from the Churchland parking lot where the Popeyes is, but the other side of that is that when it's a commercial parking lot, you have to be able, well, with Churchland, we knew who it was because it was a transportation company, all the information was posted on the car, so it was easier. But when you have to find the owners, you have to get notices sent before you can even do a tow referral. So when it's a commercial property, either it's going to go directly to the management company of the parking lot, or we have to find the owner of the particular vehicles. And sometimes it's a police matter because it can be stolen vehicles, abandoned, and then it becomes a police matter. So it can go from zoning to police to us. It just depends on what the situation is with the vehicle.
So there have been a couple, like parking lots along Airline Boulevard where there have been, I don't know, 60 cars waiting because they won't fit inside the car repair guy's fence. So they're parked all over the shopping center parking lot.
That's a planning,
That's a zoning and
zoning and planning.
I know what you're talking about. We went to look at that one.
Yeah, so do I need to C-click fix that, or?
No, that's already on the radar.
Okay.
Yeah, that's,
How about fences? Is that yours, or is that zoning's?
It depends on what
What about the fence?
So the fence is falling down, the fence is on the portion of the property where it's not allowed to be. The fence showed up over the weekend,
okay, falling down is us.
okay?
Where it's not supposed to be is zoning, because that has to do with property lines and boundaries and things like that. Fences don't require a permit. They do, from us, a building permit, but they do, however, require you go to zoning and get a zoning clearance for it. To make sure, that's what they look at. They'll look at the plat and make sure that the fence is put up in the proper place. Yeah, you're right. Some show up over the weekends, and we have to go back and find out. Falling down, that's on us. Now, a tricky thing here is, depending on how it's falling down, you got pickets missing and things like that. That's a code violation. But sometimes you'll find you've got a privacy fence and there's a section missing. That's not a code violation. I can't tell that person they can't have a missing section of a fence. If there's nothing there, I can't cite it. It's just a gap. We have issues where fences have fallen down and the posts remain, and we've had people call up and say, the fence fell down, there's all these posts. I can't cite you for having posts on your property line. That's not a violation either.
Yeah.
It has to fit in the proper little space for how you do it. But yeah, if it's say a chain link fence or a wire fence and that's falling off, it's coming clipped, and yes, that's a violation that we write. If there's pickets missing and things like that in a fence, it's a violation we write.
Okay, and then on Monday morning, when your neighborhood inspectors drive through the neighborhood and there's a pile of something that looks like what used to be somebody's bathroom sitting out on the sidewalk waiting for the bulk truck to come along and take it away, does your inspector like ring up anybody to say,
Yes.
Yes.
hey, anybody get permission to do a bathroom remodel in?
They'll either call in directly when it's happening, or they'll make a note of it. When they come back in, they'll check to see if there's an open permit for the property. And then if it's not, it will get referred over to our construction division, which will go out and issue a stop work order.
And then we also have waste management that works closely with us. They also call in to inform and things like that.
Okay. All right, thanks. Appreciate all this information. It's very helpful because you guys get lots of questions, but so do we.
Oh, absolutely.
Vice Mayor Moody.
Thank you, Mayor. A couple of things. Councilman Hugel mentioned fences. That was on my list. I think as you drive around the city, dilapidated fences are a frequent sight, particularly on Town Point Road in the Churchland area. The other thing, technology, that won't be a new thing for code inspectors. Council, a number of years ago, appropriated money for notepads. Of course, they may be outdated if they still had them, but I knew the technology was there for the same reason that the inspectors at that time had to go back to the office to write up reports in paper and pen.
And that they did at one point have that. That actually is pre-me. They did have that. It didn't work well. It's hard, and we even asked, Mr. Carter even asked us to find out, because we have in our budget this year to get tablets to use with the new system, to find out if we could go ahead and get them now and use them with the existing system. It's so old, it's not compatible. And what they were using mobily back in the day didn't work well either. There were so many issues that it caused more problems than it was worth. So they had gotten rid of them. When I first started here, they had a few stands still mounted in the car where they would actually have them in there, but they went away.
Well, hopefully this time, if they don't work, somebody will communicate that.
No, this is all cloud-based, and it's a lot different than what we've been doing.
The other thing is yard clutter. You mentioned porch clutter, but what's the clutter from one perspective might be different from the owner's perspective. What determines that?
We are not the pretty police, is the best way to say that. If it's something that can be in the weather, there's not a whole lot we can do about it. It may not look very attractive. If they've got a bunch of lawn ornaments or artificial flowers and things, we have a few houses around. I know of some throughout the city that people have a lot of that, and they overly decorated their yard, and there's not a lot we can do about it. The only thing we can get them for is if they don't keep the grass cut around it and they start having high weeds grow up throughout and things like that, we could cite them for a high grass violation. But we can't do a whole lot about it unless it's something that's not supposed to be out there.
Now, how about tarps on a roof? Does that fall under a code inspection?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Because I see that every once in a while, somebody, I guess, instead of patching the roof or replacing the roof, just put a tarp on it. The other thing, I know some of these cases have appeal process where they go to court. Do you get the support of the judges on most of these things?
We do, yes.
I would say so. We've even just
100%,
gotten, I wouldn't say 100%, but
60?
we did just get 2 days out of the month that is designated just for permits and inspections, and I want to say animal control to cut back on some of the time just wasted being in court on a regular day. So I would say 85% of the time it goes our way in court.
And we get a lot of support from the city attorney's office. Mr.
Yes.
Challenger's department is
Yes.
fantastic with helping with this. Ms. Manning out of his office
Yes.
takes a lot of our cases and does a really good job with seeing them through the courts.
Yeah, I know they do a good job, but once it gets to court, I would obviously be up to the judges.
Correct.
Right, and that goes back to some of the, we were talking about times. Judge, depending on what the case is, may give this person this amount of time or may give this one this amount of time. So it's hard to dial in what the average time is in some cases to get a violation corrected.
And the last item, people living in campers parked in the driveway. Is that code enforcement or?
That would be zoning.
Okay, that's zoning.
Yes.
Okay, do y'all report that to
Yes.
zoning
Oh,
if you
Yes.
notice that?
Yes.
And that's one of those things that can be hard to notice sometimes. You can get the report from it, but we have to be able to go out and witness it. Of course, we have to witness it, or zoning has to witness it, and then, they take care of the violation.
Very good, thanks. Great presentation.
Dodson,
You're next.
You can go next. sir.
Councilman Dodson, then
So
Councilwoman
with
Thomas.
previous administration, I got very frustrated with the responses to the SIG-Click fix, and I kind of stopped submitting to it. Has y'all's, so can you speak to the response? Because I sometimes got items closed out with no explanation. And I was very, very frustrated with that. It's like, well, just tell me why you closed it out. Did it get fixed? Because I know myself and the House brothers, we report a lot into the system.
Right, and a case is not supposed to be closed out without an explanation. There's supposed to be a reason given. Either there's no violation present, or what's going to happen with it. It should not be closed out, and that's something that we've looked at making sure it gets done. That's one of the reasons why our team leaders are responsible for this now, that they go in and look at it, and then they assign it to the correct person to make sure it's getting done.
I just wanted to bring up your awareness on it, how frustrated some of us are
understand.
with that.
And just a side note with that, sometimes if you put in the same complaint more than once or twice, then they go in and they will, if you have 4 or 5 of the same complaints, then they will close 2 or 3 of them and address the other 2. So if you get one back and it's already a complaint out there, then sometimes they'll just simply say, refer it to whatever the other case was and where we at with it at the time. But that's normally when you get more than 1 or 2 of the same case.
Thank you.
council members, I do not want to limit, the interaction here. We're getting close to the time, so there are other times that we can talk about this. We want to start the meeting on time, so.
My question is, if I can answer one-on-one, that'd be great.
If you could hold those.
I'll speak with you later. I'm going to stay through the council meeting, so Councilwoman, if you had a question.
Yes, she's up next, so she's
Yeah.
right the floor.
I'll wait for the other questions in the interest of time. My only question I want to ask right now is for those homeowners that have been cited, that might want to make the repairs or the fix, what are the options if they don't have the resources to make those?
A lot of times they can do an extension request. They can come in and have conversations. If they come in and they have a plan, then we work with them. We can extend things out. As long as we see progress being made, then we work with them. We know, people have different situations financially or whatever, but we do work with them and we give them different options.
Okay, thank you so much. I'll talk to you later about the program that I'm interested in.
I'll see you after the main meeting.
Thank you, Mr. Rob.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Utilities, you have one?
Yeah, so mine isn't really a question, so I've been in the hot seat long enough. But I do want to say whoever has Area 12 for neighborhoods deserves a bonus, maybe for the month. She is on it. I
She
get
is.
probably the most calls. out of
Where's
every-
12?
Churchland, off Town Point area.
Okay.
She's on her job and she's been on for years. And so she deserves something because that's where most of the complaints come from. Most of them are because they just, they're mad because they got written up. But she's definitely on her job.
That's good to hear.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that might have.
Good to hear.
Might have something to do with it.
Thank you, guys. I appreciate
Thank you
it.
both.
Yes, thank you.
Mr. Carter, I'm sure you have the floor.
Thank you very much, Mayor. We have 3 public hearings this evening and 2 CMRs, 2 use permits, one for a multi-purpose residential development and one for a self-storage facility. The other one is a zoning amendment, as part of which is renaming the Innovation District to the Link District. We have 2 CMRs for $38,553. I'm sorry, $73 combined. That's on your consent agenda for this evening, and you'll be happy to hear that the technology that we talked about, we're actively rolling that out now. But more importantly, one of the things we're exploring is how there is an issue, and then you refer to zoning, or we refer to, what I'm looking at is, how do I have one inspector do all of that instead of, you go see it and then you tell somebody else about it. So that's another thing that we're looking at. How can we combine all those things to get, instead of sitting 3 sets of eyes to look at the same problem, that same set of eyes take care of all of it. That's it for this evening. Thank you.
Mr. Carter, great job. And that concludes our public work session. I'll see everyone in the chamber. We'll begin the meeting at 7:10. Give you 10 minutes to get yourselves together.
Sir.